here in the woods today. As you can see, it's a fine English summer's day, cloudy. There's a bit of rain on the forecast, but I'm going to be cooking up Benny Boy's special breakfast burrito later on the Trangia 25 unit, and I'm going to go and see if I can harvest any ripe blackberries as well. So that's the plans for today. I've got a cup of coffee on the go here. I'm just having a walk around the woods. But yeah, big cats. The other day in my local newspaper, I'll try and link the article below, there was a piece on big cats being spotted in North Yorkshire, you know, like leopards and black panthers and stuff like that. And it kind of got us thinking about an experience we had a couple of months ago. So I'll tell you the story. So one day, a couple of months back, we pull into the woods as normal. We've got the truck parked down there. Now there's a wooden cross barrier on the entrance to the woods. So what happens is I usually pull up, Tris will jump out and she'll take that off and then walk up into the woods a little bit. Now this one morning, she walked up here and got to about where I'm standing now. And she said, over there she saw what she thought was a dog, like a big jet black dog, moving through the undergrowth, and then it jumped, obviously jumping over, I don't know, some brush or something like that. And she was a bit shaken by it. She said it was huge. I was like, was it not a deer? You know, I mean, deer, the back of a deer can be very dark brown, but obviously they've got a white tail. And she said, no, the whole thing, it was jet black and it was big. So I thought, well, you've either seen a dog or you've seen a dark deer, and I didn't think anything more of it. And that incident on its own is neither here nor there. But when you put it next to something that happened the following weekend when we came up, I don't know, it's got me thinking a little bit. So we came up to the woods the following weekend. It was on a Friday and it was raining, so we didn't have a campfire. We ended up sitting in the shed for much of the evening, and then when it got dark the rain cleared and we thought, oh, we'll come out and see if we can spot the tawny owls, because we've got this clearing here which at the moment you can see it's quite overgrown because we're in summer, but at the end of spring you can walk through and yeah, you can see the owls. Sometimes they come down to hunt. So me and Tris, we just stood next to a pine tree really quietly for about 10 minutes. Didn't see the owls, but there's another area up here. So we thought, come on, we'll go and stand there for a bit. So I got to about here where I'm standing. So it's a big, long, very overgrown grassy ride. And yeah, this noise just, it stopped us in our tracks. It was just like a really loud, low frequency growl that eventually turned into a snarl. I've never heard anything like it. You know, we just walked up here and boom, just stopped dead still while this noise went on. And my me and Tris looked at each other and I was like, right, whatever that is, it doesn't want us going up there, so just back up. So like Tris kind of walked backwards for about 3 steps and she turned around and she hoofed it back to the shed. So I kind of, you know, pretty much done the same, to be honest. I walked back and I was like, wow, what the hell was that? And we went back to the shed and we locked the door, and I actually made a joke to Tris. I said, get on your phone and see if there's a tiger escaped from the local zoo. It was that type of growl. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say I'm 100% sure it was a big cat, but I'll stand here and say I'm 100% sure it wasn't a dog. You know, I know what dogs sound like when they growl and they snarl. It's quite like a very fast growl most of the time, high frequency, and it usually ends in a bark. This was nothing like that. It just sounded like what you would expect a lion or something to sound like. It was crazy. And you know, for the few weeks after that I was scratching my head thinking, what the hell made that noise? There is no native species in the UK, I'm sure of it, that makes such a low frequency growl. And then when I saw that article in the press, You know, coupled with the fact that Trish saw something jet black moving through the woods, I don't know, I might be putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5. Probably am. But yeah, we got on the internet and we started listening to black panther growls, and honestly I swear it was exactly what we heard that night in the woods. So yeah, I wonder. Anyway, I think I'm gonna turn around now just in case it's come back. So I'm gonna get me little bushcraft pouch and a stick or an axe or something for protection, and I'm gonna go see if I can harvest some blackberries. There's a few around here that don't look very ripe up here at the moment. So the blackberries in woodlands do tend to be slightly more slower growing than those that you find in the towns and the cities. And that's because there's not enough sunlight getting to them. If you've got a closed canopy woodland, yeah, they're a bit restricted for light. There's quite a few berries, but not so many big fat juicy ones. So the blackberry gathering hasn't been that successful. I've got a half decent handful here. I've got some double cream in the fridge at home. Now here's a top tip: poor man's fruit crumble. If you've got a couple of digestives lying around, crush them up, chuck them in with a fruit, put some custard or some cream on top. Beautiful. But I'm going to head back to the shed now and start thinking about getting breakfast on. Getting pretty hungry. So let's get breakfast ready. I'm going to be using the Trangia 25 unit. This is what we took to Sweden with us. I ended up buying this hard case for it, which works pretty well actually. It just protects the unit in transit, and it also means you don't have to faff around with that strap when it comes to packing the unit away. So I've got the hard anodized frying pan, the chopping board. I've got the gas adapter with me because I'm going to be cooking sausages and it's much easier to control the flame with the gas adapter. Now this is the unit I've had for a long time, but before we went to Sweden I updated the pans to the Duosol ones, which I've wanted to do for a while, but sometimes it can be hard to get hold of. But there was a couple available, pretty expensive mind. I think I paid something like £35 for the pair of them, but they are really good. So these have got aluminium on the outside, which keeps them relatively lightweight and allows for good heat transfer, but they've got stainless steel on the inside, which is really good when it comes to having to aggressively clean the pan, especially if you haven't got access to hot water or anything like that. So yeah, I mean they'll last a lifetime. So we're going to go in there with a couple of snags, a couple of snaggaroonies first up. So the sausages are looking good. So we're going to go in with a bit of black pudding. And then we've got some smoked streaky bacon. So that's the sausage, bacon and black pudding done. So what I'm doing is I'm just slicing the ingredients up into manageable chunks and putting them into one of the Trangia bowls. So I'll be able to create a bowl full of the filling for the tortilla. Now that's done. I'm just going to get some mushrooms and some tomatoes in here. Going to get a touch more oil in the pan, and Then we'll get these eggs cooked. And we'll get a bit of this breakfast mix in. Oh man, that is looking good. Right, let's give this a go. Not gonna lie, if you walked into a shop and saw that, you probably wouldn't want to buy it. But you should never judge a book by its cover. You'd pay $3.99 for that in Marks and Sparks. I just hope the smell of the meat cooking hasn't lured in any Black Panthers. Well folks, I'm going in for round 2. It's a bit of a technique to roll in the burrito, isn't there? It's one I haven't quite yet mastered. So I had 3 of those burritos in the end. Oh man, I was so full. I just sat outside the shed for like 45 minutes. But it's mid-afternoon now, so I'm just going to have one more mooch before I head back home. So yeah, big cat theory. Let me know what you think. I think it's entirely plausible that big cats can be living in the English countryside, you know, ones that have escaped or been let loose. I can't imagine that there's a breeding population, but just lone individuals, you know, it's possible. There is plenty of evidence, and I mean, they could easily sustain themselves out here for their lifetime, I would have thought. I mean, obviously you've got loads of deer, you've got pheasants, grouse, rabbits, hares, pigeons. There's certainly no shortage of food for an apex predator like a panther or a leopard or something like that. So yeah, I mean, what Trish saw, it could have been a dog, it could have been a deer. When stuff moves through the forest really quickly, it is hard to get a good look. So, you know, you could explain away that quite easily, but what we heard just over there that night, you know, it wasn't a dog. I'm absolutely 100% sure. Which begs the question, what the hell was it? It did sound like a big cat, and if you accept the fact that there are big cats walking around living out here, then, you know, maybe that's what we heard. I suppose we'll never find out really unless you get some trail cams put up, but then you kind of think, well, is it actually living around here in this area, or do they just pass through? Who knows? So I don't know. Like I say, we'll probably never find out, but maybe just should be walking around the woods with a bit of protection, like an axe or a knife or even a stick, just in case I come face to face with the beast. Something down there actually. What the hell is that? Jesus, can you hear that? What the hell is it? Christ.